Excited to have Madd Hatta on with us. It is digital and radiofacts.com. How you doing, boss?
I'm good, man. How are you, man? How's
Uh,
ATL treating?
Man, it is treating me quite well, man. First, I just want to say congratulations, sir, on the new opportunity that you have at Texas Southern University.
Yeah.
Before I get into what that is and what that looks like, I always like to go back and just kind of revisit the past a little bit. And, like we were talking about offline, when I first met you, I will never forget walking in, I came in early one morning to the station and, the box in Houston. And I was like, okay, it's Madd Hatta. And it's like a whole bunch of dudes in here. It was like you and like 5 dudes. And at this time,
me,
J Mac,
Jimbo, J Mac, Cooper, JQ. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was sitting there like, I've never seen this before. You know what I'm saying? Especially after the whole, the diaries are gone and they're trying to strip us all from talking. They're trying to make everything succinct. Maybe 2 people host the morning show and that's it. Right, that kind of stuff. Right. But you had this dynamic with this show that I found amazing. And I'm like, he's making this work. Can you talk to me about what the Madd Hatta morning show was like and the dynamic and how y'all made that whole collaboration work, man?
Sure. I think the truth of the matter is, man, you have a group of people who have lived in a community and were a part of that community for several years. So I don't think a new morning show, you could just jump start it with a whole bunch of unknown males or people in general. But all these individuals have been a integral part of that radio station at that particular time for a long period of time. Jimbo, the white guy on the show, the fun and relief and nerdy and just pretty brilliant. He'd been there since the inception of the radio station. Jimbo had been there when I think before 97.9 was maybe country. He worked with every morning show from the beginning. He did overnights. So he was very well entrenched in the community of not just that dial, but when it became an urban or Churban radio station, the early years Churban finally becoming what they would call rhythmic, but really just a black radio station, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those other names so they could get those ad dollars, but we don't go there. But he had been there for the duration. So he'd been there. Cooper, another long-standing member of the community, grew up in the city, a lot of friends in the city. He became our producer. Indian brother did a very incredible job. He was great.
He was.
I'm being specific in saying what their races were because I think we were an amalgamation of different people with different backgrounds. And I think that's what made the show work as well. It wasn't just these black guys or these white guys or these Indian guys or these Hispanic guys. It was a group of different individuals. And it had not always been men either. This is just where it had gotten to at particular time. But we'd always had women co-host on the show as well. But when you came through, yes, it was all men. In addition to that, we had J Mac. He had been my partner since almost the time I've been in Houston from 1994 until he started taking a more vocal role after 95, 96 in the community. Loves this guy. He's always been a part of the community as well. And rounding it out with JQ, he was the last male member of the show. JQ was the comic relief. He's an extremely popular DJ in the city. Works at all the clubs. Everybody loves him. He's that funny, unforgettable cousin that you got that you just you hate him, but you love him as well because of his realness and how authentic he is and how ironic he is and have some weird quirks, but you love him nonetheless. And he was the music director at the radio station. And I think everything with a morning show is having a good rapport. Mm-hmm. Oftentimes you get management that tries to stick people together and make it work, and that would not work. Now, what we did do to make sure that the show worked, because there was the lack of a female presence, as you said, is you have to do a lot of phone calls that involve the women of the airways, the ladies that listen to the show. So although we didn't have a woman per se in the studio, women played an integral part of the program that we put on. even though there were these males up there, we had our sex symbols, not myself, but the rest of the guys, they had the sex symbols of the show, which ladies ain't never mad to look at, some, I guess, good looking guys, not myself, of course. But you got that. And like I said, you do a lot of topics and you talk about a lot of things that women are interested in and things that you cannot answer. You get professionals that are probably women, or you just get people off the phone lines who have become a part of your show over the years to participate in the show. So we were able to do that every single day. And obviously, the suits at the top, they want you to have a female in there, but they couldn't ever, they couldn't say it was because of ratings. And the first time that they had and you know how it goes, the first time they have a ratings dip, they say, oh, because you didn't have a female in there. And at some point you just stop fighting it and say there. And what happens in this industry that I don't like, especially with urban radio or black radio, all these people do is copy what they saw somebody else do. There's no innovation. There's no trendsetters. Everybody just follows what the other guy does. And they think that that's the rule. And everyone is afraid to break the rule. But if you work hard, you build a good team, you market the team, and you do good in the community, you can win under any circumstances, in my opinion. But, you try to explain that to a consultant in suits, that conversation can get difficult. But they left me alone. For the most part, they always left me alone. And then if the ratings dip and you don't feel like really fighting it, I get to the point where the last time I said, yeah, I don't care. Y'all can do whatever you want to do. And that's pretty much what it was. But my program director found somebody that worked in the building. We'd all had a rapport with Jazz, and I'll be honest with you, we've had some pretty good co-hosts that were females. Jazz, hands down, was the epitome. She was young, she was vibrant, she could play in the boys' playground with the boys. And she could play hard, and she was a woman, and she was very articulate and very smart. So when you get somebody like that, and like I said, because we all knew her, we knew she would be a good fit. I thought she was an excellent fit for us. She's probably too turnt for me, but it worked for the show. It matched the other energy that was probably lacking on the show. Ironically, that's when the ratings probably started to go down, ironically. But I thought she was probably, in my opinion, probably the best co-host we had. And I loved all the women co-hosts that we had, but young Jazz, definitely. And then, as you get older and you start to fine tune what a morning show is and you learn how to make it work, it's easier to put somebody in play and work them into the system. So we had a working system that was perfected over years. Mm-hmm. What your guy Jimbo has, what J Mac has, Cooper is the king of, he's like you, and man, you got somebody that can edit your 15 minutes of BS that you recorded, and he edited everything down to a fine 4 minutes of good radio. And that's to me what a good producer is. We started to learn the fine art of let's record. Let's be as funny and go out as far as we want to. Let's record it. And then let's put all the bells and whistles in it. And that's where he was good at. If it was some topic, we were talking about something presidential, or we had the ladies and we had phone calls. He would take it, he would cut it all in and would do some incredible things on the air. So, I was lucky, man. I had a very pampered career from the very beginning, from the first program director at the college radio station, Yvonne Anderson, to my big opportunity with Brian Douglas at Jams in Greensboro. I mean, I was a pampered jock. I got given the idea that I can try and do anything, and they would let me know if I went too far. And no one ever called me to let me know that I had gone too far. So I pushed the envelope for as far as I could, and nobody never pulled me back. So that's something that you don't get anymore. So I had that.
No, I totally agree with you on that. And, spanning, I know you were part of the box from 94, 95 till earlier this year. Mm-hmm. But to be on a morning show, to be honest with you, from 2001, I believe, Madd had a morning show, started in 2001.
Yeah.
to
I believe so, yeah.
to 2020 basically is you don't hear about that anymore. Yeah, I mean, like straight, like not like you left and came back a couple times. We're just gonna ignore those moments that you left. You literally were there for 19 straight years. So when you have longevity like that, there's plenty of jocks that get an itch. Like, okay, what's next? Like, like you feel like you've conquered the mountain. What's next? Did that ever happen to you? Did you have like okay, I don't want to get stagnant. What's the next challenge out there? 'Cause I've obviously, mastered this.
I think until this last final year, we had always been battling the new ratings position, the PPM and things of that nature. So it was fun to me trying to figure out how to conquer PPM. So, we went to battle every day. And ironically, we really didn't battle competition ever. The battle for me was, can I be better than I was yesterday? And what can I do to play with the music, to play with the clock, to play with the topic, to play with this age group, this demographic, to try to figure out what it was in the sauce that could propel you to number one. In all my years of working, I don't think I've ever figured that out. And I think every day, and that's probably what got to me at the end. I got tired of trying to figure it out every single day. And you have to be with an organization that is walking the walk with you. And if your organization is not walking the walk with you, it could be tumultuous because you want to make sure that they have your back, in this walk. They have to understand that you're doing everything you can in your power to reach the goal. But ultimately, it's R&R, is ratings and revenue. And so, at the end of the day, it's about them making money. And when you've leveraged your radio stations for billions of dollars and they only worth $3, you got a bill to pay. So at the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents, like a DJ Quick record.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And I also, because we've talked about the politics a little bit so far in the business. And again, 21 years, when it comes to working with, like, especially for those people out there, the jocks out there that are at a station and they're trying to understand how to balance, trying to do their art, their craft, and deal with management. When it comes, like I said, 19 years in one place doing the morning show. How did you balance management, your craft, your team, and not lose it, if you will?
You know what, Ahmed? Like, I can't lie. I was kind of, I was left alone most of my career.
Really?
No one really. Yeah, I've had a very choice career. I'm really blessed, man. I can probably name 3 times in my entire career where, I had, general manager issues or something like that. But for the most part, even with those things, most of the time they just left me alone. There was never, I was lucky, man. And I realized that my career was not regular like other jocks who, they've been to other radio stations. They've been fired a billion times. They've been here, there, and everywhere. And I got opportunities to leave. I think the last 5 to 7 years, I started getting offers because people like, Hatter's he's not going to leave the city. He's gotten comfortable where he is and he just won't leave. So probably like anywhere from the last 5 to 7 years, people really stopped offering me jobs in other markets because, I seemed to have been happy where I was. And I was a jock that was left alone. I knew how far I was willing to go. And I think what happens is your general managers, they're like, oh, we know how far Hatter's going to go. We know what kind of jock he is. And he knows how to go right to the line and just stop.
Right.
So I think your company is comfortable with you. They know they can rely and depend on you, your general managers and program directors. And so I'd had one of those kind of relationships, and I know it's not the norm. And, I was blessed to have the career that I have because I know that it is not normal. but it hadn't been normal for me from the very beginning, starting off in college radio. Like I said before, I walked into a radio station and Yvonne Anderson says, "Hey, if you call yourself the Madd Hatter, I'll give you a shift." And there goes my career starting. You know what I'm saying? It's not been a normal career from day one, you know? So I've been blessed. And I didn't have the big arguments like, God, I'm getting tired of management doing this and doing that and doing that. They kind of left me alone. Now, you know, there would be times when, you know, you see a ratings dip and then they start to act like they're questioning your ability to be a jock. And my program director, you know, Terry at the time, Terry would start coming in there with a pen and pad and breaking down the hours. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And it was good because we had a rapport where we would work to make this thing work.
Right.
Is it to do songs here? Is it to do a mix there? Is it this kind of topic? And what's happened over the years, we started to learn now, it started to turn more into social media goes hand in hand, you know, with terrestrial radio. And so that was something that we started to learn towards the end. But, you know, I can't really complain. There was never any fight for me. And I know that's probably not what most jocks want to hear. They want to hear how you fought with, you know, your general manager and how, you know,
right.
You said, F him, you can kiss your black, you know. I've had running. And maybe because it's the kind of personality I got, so my managers didn't mess with me maybe because I have a very stern attitude and I will tell you something. But it was always justified if I said something. It wasn't like coming out of left field because I think I'm all that. If I really thought you was wrong, I would tell you why you were wrong. I would have the information and facts to back it up. And then if you'd have to back up your information as to why you think I'm wrong.
Got you.
And it was that simple. And so because of that, they got to the point where one, they wouldn't bring any information to me because I would bring the information that they use to me and use it against them. So they've like, that tactic is not going to work with him. So that doesn't work because he'll use the information on us. But I didn't have any major problems ever with any management. And I had all kind of program directors, zany, crazy, HD, AD, whatever. I've had it all, man. Some that, you know, y'all have the opportunity to curse each other out on rare occasion. Some that you just had great relationships the whole time through and never have no problems to probably the very end. I just had a blessed career.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, hearing that when I said 19 years, I'm like, that's not normal. It's not normal at all. And so, you know, not even talking about the negative, but you know, what I've learned from watching you and watching Terry is the collaborativeness, you know, with y'all, which I thought was very intriguing. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it before, but not maybe to y'all's level where it was literally a collaborative effort. Can you speak on that, the positive relationship that you had with PDs and working to make the show better, not combative, things of that nature?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great question with Tom Calicoce. And I had heard people say some terrible things about Tom Calicoce, but me and Calicoce are cool even to this day. When a lot of bad things were happening prior to Tom Calicoce, and I can't remember who was the program. I don't know if it was Scorpio or not, but a lot of things at that particular time in my career, they were trying to take away from me. When Calicoce came in, I think they, you know, because of I'm an honorary type of, you know, I have a particular attitude. So I think they thought that me and Calicoce were not going to get along, and I could sense that. So I actually had reached out to him when I found out that he was the program director. You know, back in those days, they also wanted, you know, the main players or personalities to vet the program directors because, you know, these cats had to work together. So I was aware that they were bringing him in. I was like, I don't care who y'all bring in. It seems like a decent guy will work. And I called him in advance and he was like, man, I was just getting ready to call you, Hatter. And he walked in the door and everything that they had told me that was wrong. Calicoce said, everything that they told you that you couldn't do, I want you to do. What? Yes. And that started off a beautiful relationship. And we won for a long time, you know, because I had these ideas and opinions. And these guys, like, you know, I think the prior program director thought that J Mac was a crutch. No, he was just a funny guy on the show. Don't get me wrong. Do I need that person or that person or that person, that person? No, I just know what they bring to the table. Let me work my table. Let me do what I do. And you just do what you do. And, it was hard to explain that. But Calicochi actually, he got it and he allowed it. And we were successful because of that. And then after he left, they brought in Terry, our general manager at the time. Doug Abernathy was a huge fan. I think some people at the company probably didn't want to bring in a female program director. You know how it is with the ladies in the industry.
Yep.
Terry is an excited personality. She has 1,000,001 ideas and she wants you to do them all. And at first, I'm the kind of person that is, I'm not doing that. And then she would figure out a way to get the other cats on the show to buy into her ideas. Even like every year we were doing these plays on the radio and Terry would write them. And the first one, I'll be honest with you, I thought it was dumb. I thought it was a waste of time. I thought it was stupid. I was reluctant to do it. So I went in doing it sarcastically. So I did the whole thing sarcastically. And then I left. And the producer, Cooper, he put it all together. He chopped it up. They got some celebrities out the city to make songs for the play. They did all this. And literally, I was at the gym yesterday and a young lady walked over to me. She said, Hatter, I'm going to show Mr. Christmas play this year. I said, that's all right. I said, Jimbo will probably put it online anyway. But we started doing those things and they became hallmarks in the city. And it made the crew laugh because they know how much I didn't want to do it. And I was clear with Terry how I didn't want. I mean, we all had a great relationship. All of us were very, very close, man. It was more like family. And they know that I didn't want to do that thing. And it was probably such a big win for her when the audience is like, oh, that's crazy. Y'all got to play it again. So it justified, okay, right. Shut the F up and listen to the program director and, you'll probably win. So oftentimes, a woman will have the ability to see things that you just can't see, not just as a woman, but just as the program director and the leader. You're the reluctant morning man who don't want to listen to anybody. But sometimes it's in your best interest to shut the F up, listen to your program director, and execute. And so I learned to do that, and I was cool with it. I was cool. I would be reluctant to do things most of the time, but because she knew how to win, I like to win. So I would most assuredly listen. Right. We all had a very good relationship. We had been through a lot in the city. We endured a lot because not all the times were good times as far as community and things that would happen out in the community. So it gets the team to be close because we had to endure some BS along the way as it deals with radio, but with individuals as it related to radio. And it brought everybody together and closer. So, when you got that kind of stuff happening, the dynamics on the air is that it builds an incredible team. And so we had that, man. And we had a really good team. We had a good run, man. Prince once said, all good things never last. And sometimes it snows in April.
And that's where I want to go to next. And that's where I want to go to next right there, man, is, 19 years. It was like a very vague announcement. It was very extremely vague. It's just like, yeah, Madd Hatter's not on the box anymore. Excuse me? You know what I'm saying? There's like a new morning show shows up. It was like no pomp and circumstance, no heralded, no nothing. So, just from
I think there's everyone involved has to take a part of that pie, so to speak.
Okay, so I'm looking at it like this. I know that you had Tom Joyner on Magic, right? Yes, I know Tom Joyner retired, so I was like, okay, they're moving him to Magic, but it never happened. I see Ricky Smiley on Magic, but there was like no real anything about the Madd Hatta Morning Show. So can you let us know how did you go from the morning man from the box for 19 years to limbo, or because you didn't have the morning show and then now you're leaving Radio 1, but you haven't been on the air. Just help me out.
That's a fair question. Let me put it like this. I think what happens is the last year was rough for me, and not from a Radio 1 perspective. I think I got tired. I was tired probably for the last year and a half. And I think as you get older, I mean, man, I literally came into this city a baby, man. I was a teenager and I was raised by Houston, Texas. I can't even imagine being anywhere else. And for 30 something odd years, literally, I've been pretty much on the same dial. Again, unheard of for almost 30 years. To literally grow up and you do nights, afternoons, mornings. It's the radio DJ dream, my friend.
Yes.
And not only do you do it like that, nights, afternoons, mornings, you get to do it all pretty much at the same station.
Right.
Like, so you get people to follow you from being a kid at night to somewhat of an adult when you could be one in the afternoons to being a man and getting older on a morning show. And I think sometimes in life you just go through things. And I think, trying to put this mildly, I think when you try to look out for your team, but some days you like, man, it just seems like it's just me making sure everything and everyone, your corporation, your crew, then your family and your extended family, it's just like everyone is riding in your backpack. All decisions are made by you, everything. And, things don't move until you say move, and you wanted your team to step up and move too. And I think I was frustrated. And I think I was frustrated years before, but then I worked through it. And then I think it happened again, probably a year and a half prior.
Can you talk about the frustration? Like, what was it the year before that made you frustrated? No, I really want to know, because the thing is that, it can happen to any one of us. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're with a show or with a city or with a station for long enough, it can happen.
And this is without, because I don't want to sound like I'm throwing anyone under the bus.
Understood. Understood.
Because I think I had a great team, and that was the problem. And what I mean by that is when you have a team and they can perform without effort. You ever see a great basketball player? Through time, we've seen these great basketball players that didn't go to practice. They didn't take the game serious, but man, they could go on the court or they could go on the football field and they could perform. But he would be at the club every night drinking. He just had natural ability.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I had a morning show that had natural ability. Jimbo, he was just funny. He can't help it. He wakes up, he's a funny guy. J Mac, he knows the streets and he's a funny guy. You got this so it wasn't effort for them to do what they did. It's like you just pushed the button. I knew, and what happens when if you're a true to me morning show leader, you become somewhat of an almost puppet master. I know how to push all your buttons to get what I need on the airwaves.
Right.
So all I have to do is do a pass to Jim, and I know the rest of the crew, or if I do a pass to Mac, I know Mac, they're going to do the dribble, they're going to do the dribble, they're going to do a hand behind the back, in between the leg, and then they're going to leave it up to me to do the three-pointer on the end. So this took no effort. So because it became so effortless for them to perform and do what they did, my expectation is, guys, this is cool that we can do this off the cuff. What if we could do this even better? What if we recorded these breaks and had it done the day before? So when we walk in here, the first hour is just all of our pre-recorded stuff, which we did do, but I wanted more. And the problem could have been me. I'm a perfectionist. And and they would probably say behind my back, man, Hatta was just a taskmaster. He just wanted too much perfection from the crew. But, I'd walk in the studio and everybody like, man, it's a free-for-all party. I'm like, yo, do we have an outline for the show? Did you do this? Did you do that? Why I got to tell you to do this? So I think for me, the last year, it just became, I want us to be better. And either y'all want us to be better or you don't want us to be better.
Got it.
And there was no reason to be better if you were already at the top of the mountain.
But to me,
we weren't at the top of the mountain. We could be doing much better, but I think it gets in people's head, shoot, well, we ain't a comedian, so we're not going to never get syndicated and we're not going to never get this like this person. We're just going to be the local DJs and the company is going to only see us as the local DJs. So why must I perform at this level that you asked me? Now, I don't know that to be the case. I'm just speculating. But I think for me that it came to a lot of that. And then it was a lot of frustration just in things that were happening in the marketplace, dealing with artists, certain artists and things of that nature that just made it, after you deal with certain things after 5 to 8 years, you're like, okay, we're still dealing with that. This is ridiculous. Because you just want to be free to be the greatest radio personality that you can be and give back to the community and give the listeners a great, well-rounded, full-service show. And it just became too much of a task every day. It's not about money. And none of these things for me, it was never about money. I know I wasn't the highest paid of all the morning jocks ever, not the highest paid jock in the city, but they had given me what I had always asked for, and I didn't ask for a penny more. And if I had to give it to somebody else, I would. So it wasn't even about that, but it was about respect for me always. And it was about, hey man, let's just strive to be a little bit more. But I had a extremely talented team. Sometimes when you got a talented basketball team and they know, and it's not in an arrogant way that we know we good, but they kind of do know that they're good.
Right.
What's the justification? Are they going to still get the same money? They're going to get the same amount of work. What is it? What's in it for me? And I'm not saying me, but for those individuals, what was in it to be a little bit more? So it was that, and at the end, it was even me at some point. It got to the point where I was like, yeah, nobody cares, man. So what are you going to do? And I think really a lot of that was going on. And then the company, I think they wanted me to try some new things, and I just really wasn't ready to try those new things. I think my goal was to get.
Were you going to go over to Magic? Were you going to go to Urban AC?
If they had asked me to go to Magic, I most certainly would have gave it some consideration. I don't think that was a plan that they actually wanted, at least not to me. But there was never any anger from me like they should turn over the reign to me after Tom Joyner and things of that nature. So I think it was totally off guard, I think, for them, because at all times the company did want me to participate in whatever they had going on. And I just, at the last minute, I'm like, you know what? I'm just tired.
And that's basically it.
And I felt bad, and I really felt bad about that because you have people depending on you. But I'm like, man. And then I just got to the point, and I had a friend like, hey man, these are grown people. They can fend for themselves. But you felt like you owed them that because they gave you all their years. They gave me all of their youth. Those guys and gal that were with me over the years, they gave me their youth and their time. And so you wanted to give more. And my goal, actually, to be honest with you, because it would have probably just ended this year, because I was just trying to get through the 20-year mark. And then I was like, we'll see what happens after that. So, and it was just one of those kind of things, man. It's not, I can assure you, it's not what the company wanted. It was a little unexpected. I think I went they had a long talk with me, and I was like, you know what, guys, I'm gonna go on vacation because I got 2 weeks, and I will see you when I get back. And I just never went back.
What?
That's as mild as I can put it. It wasn't like I kind of went on vacation and
never came back to work. Okay, that is interesting. I
never went back. I never went back to my office, and I always traveled with everything that I need. So the things that were in my office, I felt like, do what you want with it. So
that does clear up some things on my end, and and when I think about, because this never made sense to me, what happened with Madd Hatta and the team. So going into 20,
let me just be clear. My team they're very talented. I was very blessed to be with my team, and I always want the best for my guys and gal. And I think they're all doing well. I think everyone is doing well right now. So I'm happy about that. I hope that they're all doing well.
Now, okay, so look at 2020. Like, you technically weren't until recently. You were still employed by Radio One. But look at everything that happened in 20. We're dealing with this COVID thing, man. We got coronavirus. We're doing shows from home. Houston was like an integral part when it came to George Floyd being his hometown, Houston. Mm-hmm. You had it looked like a million people walking in the streets, during that time with the protest, the march, and then his funeral, all that stuff. You're not on the air. Is at any point during this time you're like, I need to be on somebody's air right now and doing what I need to do for the city?
Yeah. Now, I think we all felt that. I talked to Jimbo, one of the guys on the show, and I think when turmoil happens in the city, you were used to being the voice of the city when there was turmoil.
Right.
I've been that guy since my 20s, my very, 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 very early 20s. Mm-hmm. I've been that guy. That's a long time. When bad things happen, when somebody dies, when somebody passes away, if there's a flood, if things are going on in the country, 9/11, you're there for all these pivotal moments. And it seemed, and it could all be in your head, man, that the community was waiting for you to say, hey, we're going to be okay. So, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't missing anything. And then, the first time I missed it, when Kobe passed, I'm like,
man,
I should have been on the air.
Right.
Should have been on the air. And then so many just
it didn't stop.
Yeah.
Kobe happened and it just ran a runaway train. It was like Kobe kicked it off and it was a runaway train after that. And it just didn't stop. Right. How have you been able to do anything to, because right now it's such a digital age, man. You don't have to be on the radio. So what have you been able to do during this time to be part of the conversation when it comes to the city of Houston?
At first I really laid low because I shocked myself. I didn't know I was getting ready to walk away from my gig. And most importantly, the gig, not just the gig I love, but the gig that paid me a substantial amount of money twice per month. I kind of never considered that when I hightailed it out of the building that day. That part wasn't so well thought out, but I'm good. Luckily, let me just say this side note, all jocks, all DJs, anyone, even if you're not a jock, you should always save your money. The best thing that happened to me is growing up in a situation or from a family where you saw what happened when you didn't take care of your finances. And I never wanted, because, when you come in this radio as a youngster, you see what happens to the old heads because they spent money frivolously, or they drank it away, they smoked it away, they coked it away, or they just didn't do the necessary things you need to do with cash. And I had always promised myself, and this is since a teenager, I just always put the money away. I've always made investments or bought a house or da-da-da-da. So my life had always been a different type of life. Therefore, I didn't have this monetary need to go say, y'all got to give me $1 million a year. I ain't working here. I would be more like, give me this right here and I'm good. Because I like to come under the radar. Because, if you make too much, they got to figure out ways to fire you.
Exactly.
I always like, let me come under the radar of firing so I can just last for as long as I can.
That's a 19-year tip right there.
So all these years, I just put all that money aside and put it in the bank. I didn't spend anything. I'm not a frivolous. I mean, I like nice cars like any, of the homies, if you will. But for the most part, I still got my 1985 BMW that I bought for myself when I graduated from college because I wanted to have this used car. It's still downstairs looking good, ready to roll out. And I always said to myself, when I did stop being a part of the business, I wanted to roll out in that car into the sunset. And by goodness, I did.
You did that.
But my point is, man, you got to save. You got to know that a rainy day is coming. And you want to be in a position where you never have to compromise yourself. And this is all jobs. People get into situations that are compromising to who they are as human beings. And when you have to compromise yourself, who you are as a human being, you make a lot of decisions that you don't want to. So I think I survived so many years because I always had cash saved.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived a different way. I talked a different way. I looked at management a different way. I wasn't like the DJs of the past who partied it up and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I don't smoke. I don't drink. All I did was work. I was a super workaholic, and I needed to learn how to not be a workaholic. Kind of still am, even though I'm kind of just getting into this new gig, but I'm working right now. I'm in a place where I'm working on myself. But I did want to say that, guys and gals, you got to save your money. You got to put it to the side. You got to, build that nest egg. And I learned that from a woman by the name of Robin Breeden, from stories that Jimbo used to tell. They used to do the morning show at the box. She said, "Hey, man, you got to always have that FU money because this ain't yours."
Right. It's not yours. But
Jimbo used to love, he used to love to tell that story. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to live that story, man. You got to always have that money. So everything was bought cash. Houses were bought cash. Cars were bought cash. I owe nothing to no one anywhere. And I always just sat on the money and invested it in things and homes, like I said before, homes and stock exchange and all that crazy stuff. So it was different for me.
Well, let's talk about the new opportunity then. Cool. I've enjoyed this conversation, like going back and just learning, from just by listening to you, man. This new opportunity at Texas Southern. Again, like I said earlier, when I first heard this, opportunity come across, I'm thinking, he's going into teaching, which is great. You know what I'm saying? Learn from one of the best in the business. Then you read more. It's a whole radio station, and then it's content director, and it's like, okay, is he getting back in the saddle? Like, what is this opportunity for you?
And let me go back and mend something, because I did a side note. I have a digital landscape that is pretty vast. I've never really exercised it, but it is vast. From Facebook, where you got X amount, 3 Facebook accounts, more than 250,000 over there. You got your own Instagram. You got, you got this whole social media
real estate,
or real estate, I like to call it. I got a podcast. I have a YouTube page, and it has a lot of people, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when I stopped doing all this, I continue to still do what I did. The people that I know, I still know. The people that they don't go away, unless you just got fake relationships. So, I didn't, particularly in this city, because I was so H-Town focused. Yeah, what's happening in the world, but all the artists in this city, at least 99% of them, these guys and gals, they grew up. Like, I'm like their uncle, you know what I mean? So all these relationships have always been here. This community has always been here. So to answer that earlier question is, I was still doing that. And then I went for an interview, and I can't remember the brother's name. So God forgive me, charge it to not that. But this guy saw me at the gym and like, hey man, I want to do radio and I work at KTSU. Would you come up there and do an interview with me? And he had his own show, or has his own show on KTSU. And I came up there and I was just speaking about, this is like probably February, after I had walking away, and everybody's still waiting to see, like, is he coming back or is he not coming back? No one was quite sure. But I was just on there talking about, the state of radio and what I believe was happening next. And we talked about voting. This is all pre-COVID, pre-George Floyd. And I was just having a conversation. And then it was brought to my attention by the program director there that, hey, we're doing this thing. And it wasn't told to me at first. I thought that they wanted me to come, maybe do a lecture in front of a class, and then found out that, hey, man, here's an opportunity where, there's some interesting things happening at the university, and they would like for you to be a part of this new thing that they're doing. And I was reluctant, because I'll be honest with you, man, I've worked my entire life. And although at first, the first week or two is scary when you don't do anything, but once you figure out, oh yeah, I saved a whole bunch of money. I ain't got to do nothing. I got homes that are paid for me to live. Okay. So I just watched Bloomberg every day, and I felt guilty because I would do Bloomberg. It was like my life was watch Bloomberg, come up here, do a podcast with somebody like I'm doing what you're doing. I'll do a podcast, edit it up, go to bed. I'm like, this can't be the rest of my life. I mean, it was simple. It was cool. And then you start to monetize it because people were coming to me, advertisers like, well, we know you ain't on the radio, but you still our guy. Can you still put our stuff on your, on your page, on your Facebook? I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I'm not even at the radio station, but I can still
monetize.
Do what I always.
Yeah.
Right. And you learn that because, hey man, your name has been marketed in this city for 30 years. And the community, they still have love for you. You don't think about
something. No, but it's worth something.
You know what I'm saying? You don't realize that until that. And then when that started happening, I'm living this life right now where I just get blown away every day. I'm kind of like, however God brings it, I'm just following it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just enjoying these moments. So he brings this moment to me and I'm like, I'll be honest with you. What really intrigued me the most, and man, you're going to think I'm crazy, but it was so cool to go through. Like, how do we think you can really do this? But you got to sign an application. What? I haven't signed an application since I've been 20. This is what, really? You just got to do it because it's the university. So at first you're like, I'm not doing that. Then you're like, once you get out of yourself and like, bro, you lived a magical life in the forest. It's not real. It was a fairy tale.
Fairy tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ahmed, what we do is fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? People pay us to chop up stuff, talk on the radio, run our traps, and we actually get money for this. This is a fairy tale life. And I used to always tell myself that. And because of that, that's why I always saved, because I know it's a fairy tale. Come on, man. I'm a grown ass man. I got paid for 30 plus years to just talk and play. I don't know what to do in the regular world. So when this came up, and Miss Donna Franklin, God bless her, man. She's like, hey, Hatter, can you just go to the website and sign an application? I said, an application? So it became like this crazy fun thing for me, man. Like, oh, okay, let me see. Oh, okay. I was into it. So it was like I was on this journey like a child almost, bro. And, then they like, oh, can you give us a resume too? What? Man, the last resume I did, I was 21. And when I got in business, I did my resume like a brochure. You know, when you're a young kid trying to get in the game and be impressive, you do all kind of crazy stuff. My first resume was a brochure. It had 3 pages, pictures, graphs for my ratings. I'm like, just a regular resume? Let me go to my good friend Google and
see how to do this.
Man, I know this sounds ridiculous. Please don't sig on me. I'm an old guy who worked in radio doing a morning show and afternoons for years. I don't know anything else, but it was intriguing and fun and humanizing to take this step. And it's not like, oh, I'm too good for this. I'm like, man, I'm really into this. This is crazy. Okay, okay, man, I think it looked good. Should I put in that I was at the college radio station too? I think I will. So I was getting into the process, man.
Right.
When they, so I started getting into that process. But man, let me tell you, I think this is really going to be a cool thing. And I think kids will get the opportunity to benefit from it, because I think what's happening is, and I think everybody realizes, and I'm a big proponent to say, radio is changing. And if you think that you can just have your overpaid terrestrial frequency and you survive by doing the things that you've always done, the same things that consultants have told you to do traditionally for years, let me be just frank. That shit ain't gonna work no more. That's done. What you've done for the last 10 to 15 years, you got over. You won with that. These kids coming up now, they don't give a shit about your terrestrial radio. They got this thing called YouTube that my kid is on every day. She can't tell you a DJ on the radio.
No.
She doesn't know any DJ on the radio, but she can tell me everything that's happening on YouTube, my friend. These two have to figure out, terrestrial to survive has to figure out how to combine itself with this new digital world that we're in. And it's, because it's been the big bad boy on the block for so long, at the top of the mountain, so to speak, it's believing that it doesn't have to. And if it if it doesn't start to adhere to all the things that's going on in this little thing right here called the phone, it will not survive. And that's just the truth. So I think there's a unique opportunity to connect terrestrial, digital, streaming, social media all together. But it has to be like you can't be a one-dimensional jock anymore. If your world, if you're old school jocks, if you're just on the air, that ain't gonna cut it.
No.
It's just not gonna. You have to, and we also live in look at Will Smith. Will Smith never used to be on social media.
Now he's the king of it.
Exactly. He had to say to himself, you know what? They want, even Will Smith and his wife had to tell you about what was going on with August Alsina.
Right.
You think one time back, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett would have talked to you people about their personal life? Hell
no.
But now that we live, but they figured out a way. Not only did they talk about it though, here's the funny thing that no one ever thought about. They monetized it.
Yep.
Think about that Facebook. You know what? We're going to deal with it, but we're going to deal with it on our accord. So we as husband and wife, we will go to our table talk or red table or whatever it's called, and we will discuss our situation and get paid from it.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. So my point is we have to figure out a way to combine all these. And I think the person that can figure out a way to combine all these and be successful can be. My goal is I'm still doing all my digital stuff. I've not forsaked one thing I learned here is never to forsake what is yours for anyone ever.
Got it.
So I will still continue to do, I still have my Super Throwback Party digital channel. I still have my Classic Joints digital channel. I got tons of listeners and all that, but I still do all my social media, like I said, from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter, even Periscope. I'm always putting stories on there, websites, whatever. But I find this opportunity to build something from nothing that you get the opportunity to start to be kind of intriguing because you can, if successful, you leave a legacy behind for others to follow. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll have a blueprint that they can go, okay, here's how this was done. And here's how this person said we need to move in the future. And I think what happened in that world of college radio is that it had been done the way that it had been done for several years. I mean, I was in college radio. It's still being done the same way.
Right.
When I was there. So, I think Ernest Walker, the GM over there, and Donna Franklin, they're looking into the future saying, if this is going to exist and going to exist for people that look like us in our community, we have to take some steps to further it along down the street. And they asked me, would you come in and help lead us on this path? And, I'm no scientist or anything like that. I have a couple of good ideas and I'm gonna go and try them out on this racetrack and try to come in first place. So it's going to be an interesting run. We do plan on,
so is this station going to be like WHUR at Howard, where it's a full-fledged radio station, no college students? It's going to be, paid jocks, or are you trying to do like a 50-50 or, bring them into kind of different kind of way?
Well, here's the thing. The KTSU has a student radio station. It's called KTSU 2. It streams all the time.
Okay.
And the students run that. They wanted to try this deal with the Vibe. It is also digital, but they wanted to be more contemporary with an urban alt lean. They thought that I could help with that. And so kind of a HUR kind of like deal, but kind of not. It's still an operation in motion, so to speak.
Got it.
As it develops, though, I'll be more than happy to let you know
of what we got going on.
As it starts, I really don't know, but the idea of the Vibe is, I can assure you, whatever I do play musically, it will be a vibe, and I want people to have a vibe, and it's a cool vibe. But it's a digital streaming station with an app, and it'll have opportunities to be showcased on the frequency of KTSU 90.9. So it's going to be an interesting deal, but it's a digital, it's a digital solution, and we'll just have to see where it takes us. but it's exciting, man. It's exciting, man. So staffing it up and all that good stuff, only time will tell. Only time will tell.
And man, before I get you out of here, I do want to talk about this, and I feel like this is very important. The youth coming up, the young jocks coming up, the DJs, like you were talking about. You had Young Jazz on your team, who now does nights on the at the box. So my question is, what should these young DJs, these jocks, be thinking about when it comes to radio? Because we talked about radio, we got to do things differently in radio. I've always said that, you know, it's gotten to the point where the on-air part of the show cannot be what's leading the charge anymore. It has to be what's going on behind the scenes. So now to be on the air, what should these new age jocks be thinking about when it comes to being on the air in 2020 and beyond?
That's such a great question. And I tell everybody in fact, I say exactly what you just said. If you just want to be a jock and work on the airwaves, it's just not going to cut it anymore. There's no way for you to vibe by just being a jock on the air. And I always use the case scenario. Here's the other reason what interests me in going back to TSU. Not only is it your start of where you started from in college radio, but I'm interested to see how many kids, you know, are interested in radio. Because the truth of the matter is this: a kid can be playing around today on his or her phone, do something weird or funny on TikTok, and become a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it hundreds of times. Remember, there was a time when the superstar of your city was the DJ.
Right.
That time, I'm of the last generation of somewhat a known DJ, not even superstar, just known DJ. Like when people see me, it's like they're homeboy. What up, Hatta? Still in this community up to the time. So I think that is dead. We have to figure out. I was telling a guy today, his name is Rich, and he works for KTSU. I said, I would probably be more apt to listen to a 6-year-old who's blown up on TikTok than to listen to any suit and tie telling me what I need to do to be good on social media, because they've not done anything to be good on social media.
Right.
So, and I'm saying that to say the future is unclear, but it is clear that a couple of things are important. People are going to always want content, my friend.
Always.
I don't know if that content is you doing something funny on TikTok or something stupid on TikTok or something funny on YouTube or something stupid on YouTube. And people are going to always want some type of entertainment, music, television, movies, whatever, what have you. So they will find what they want. They will find that entertainment, be it something funny or ridiculous or sad or crazy, and they will find their music. And what we have to do as broadcasters, if we do want to survive, we have to figure out ways to combine all these worlds. But I think because terrestrial radio have been so engaged in these over leveraged radio stations, they stopped really caring about the cool stuff that radio used to do. When's the last time? Tell me something cool that a radio station did where you are.
It's been a while.
Wait.
It's all recycled.
I'll wait.
Yeah.
I'll wait. No one back in the days of Frankie Crocker would pull out some rock record or jazz record or whatever. He did the right thing at the right time. We don't have radio stations that allow jocks to do cool things. So who wants to work for these enterprises where you can't do these cool things? And over the years, these things have gotten watered down because every radio station did was copy what the other radio station did to get popular. And those things don't work anymore. What you continue to do, my radio broadcasting corporations, is doing the same thing. And it's really bad for urban radio because what they've done is they pick their 3 or 4 black morning guys that they'll ship out and put on all their platforms because these communities are not asking for more. And the reason why they're not asking for more is because since they haven't been getting more from those stations, they don't really expect those stations to give them more. So they get their entertainment and they find their new superstars on this. And until we, and me, when I say we, these broadcasters figure out, let me tell you, the guy or gal that can figure out how to do the next cool, super dope shit is the person that wins this game. And again, radio is not in the business of doing that cool shit to get everybody to talk anymore. It just plays music. And these kids can get music from anywhere now.
Yep. Absolutely.
So we have to go back to doing cool stuff on the radio and getting broadcasters who are experts and allowing the program director to do that cool stuff. The program director these days, this person is a marketing person whose job is to go out there and secure bags. And you have to go back to letting these creatives be creative. And if you allow them to do that, they can still make money for your station when you're doing cool stuff. You have to, these stations have to start doing cool stuff again, or all these social mediums like the TikToks where all the cool stuff is happening,
right?
Podcasts and YouTube, kind of like you keep letting them do the cool stuff, you're going to opt yourself out. Simple.